I wanted to thank you all for all of your great questions and lovely comments. A lot of people just wrote some really nice comments, which I really appreciated, so thank you. I went ahead and picked a handful of questions. There were something like 3,000 entries, so I apologize if I didn't get to all of them. But we just picked a handful. We'll do this again, but here we go. Liam asked, what is it like having a dad as inspirational as your father? He has left behind a lot of great guideposts for me in how to represent him and his legacy of what was meaningful to him. And then he also has given me a lot of really meaningful inspiration for my own personal life. Through the writings that he wrote, through the books that he read, and the things that were important to him, I can really be able to grasp that and interpret it for my own personal self as an individual. So it's been really great. And I also love the sort of flow back of energy that I get through the way that he's inspired so many people all around the world. And that's just really a beautiful thing to be connected to. Chris asks an interesting question, which is it difficult today to educate the youth about Bruce Lee? It's not as easy as you think. I think that people who are Bruce Lee fans, like all of you, they go, well, of course everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. And I would say for the most part, most people know the name Bruce Lee, but do they really know who Bruce Lee is? They don't necessarily, and they need to be educated about it, and that's what we see our job as. Joe and Deo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, forgive me if I'm not, asked about my father and my brother's sense of humor, if they were funny, if they liked to play jokes, and the answer is unequivocally yes. My brother was always playing practical jokes, trying to fool me into doing one thing or the other. And my father was very much the same way. He loved to play practical jokes on people, loved to, and he loved stupid jokes. He loved, those jokes where you hear the punchline and you go, wah, wah, but he thought they were hilarious, and he had just such, both my brother and my father had the most boisterous, infectious laughter, and they just loved telling jokes, being funny, playing jokes on people. My brother in particular loved torturing me as a child. And so, yes, they had huge humorous personalities. James asked if my father was a boxer during the time that he studied with Yip Man in Hong Kong. My father did not train in boxing. However, he did enter a boxing competition during that time in high school when he was training with Yip Man. And he entered that competition, a Western boxing competition, without any formal training in Western boxing, and really used his knowledge of Wing Chun to help him in that contest, which he won. So he was the all-school boxing champion. And so he never did train formally in boxing. That came later. His sort of study and foray into the art of Western boxing. But he dabbled in it a little bit, competition-wise, during the time he was growing up in Hong Kong and studying under Yip Man. Kevin asks if my brother Brandon ever wanted to get certified as a Jeet Kune Do instructor. I would say no. He studied Jeet Kune Do. He did complete some levels of certification, I believe, in Muay Thai, but he studied with Dan Inosanto at his academy, but he never really saw himself as wanting to be an instructor in martial arts. He really did the martial arts for health, because he loved it, and for good practice, but he wanted to be an actor. I mean, from the day he could walk on 2 feet. That is what he wanted to do, and that's what he pursued. A bunch of people asked about WMAC Masters, which I thought is always really interesting. I was only on it for 1 season. The show lasted for 2 seasons. But it's really funny how many people I meet all the time who really liked that show and who ask about it and who know me from that show. I don't think that there are any plans to redo that show, although it's not a bad idea. And you know, it was a really great experience for me. It provided a lot of great work experience. I was the announcer of the show, and so I was playing myself, and I was sort of doing the play-by-play on the matches that happened on the show. I got to do some acting work, I got to do on camera, I got to learn how to read a teleprompter, I got to do voiceover work, and I got to meet a lot of really great and talented martial artists. And it was really a wonderful show, and I'm amazed and so glad that so many people like it. Again, thank you so much for the questions. I know that was like barely answering any questions, but this vlog would go on for 3 hours if I tried to get to them all. We will do it again. I will keep a lot of these questions in mind. Thank you so much for your participation, for your curiosity, and anyway, I hope